Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Geeks Not Nerds Live. It's time for the final round of the multi-topic extravaganza for this year. Thanks for being here, folks. I am Captain Logan. Right behind me is Browncoat Eric.
I'm Eric.
And here is Jackson Rasco.
Hello, everyone.
For the next hour, we're going to answer your questions. We got quite a few knocked out last time. How much do we have left here? Okay, it's still a pretty good list. I don't see us doing all of these unless we just really blow through them, and it's mostly yes or no answers. So we're going to do what we have been doing. We will answer 3 of the pre-written questions, and then we'll answer a live one. So anytime during the show, feel free to, if you're watching live, feel free to put in a question for us, and we will answer it. We will answer the ones we like the most, or at least the ones Rasco thinks are most interesting, because Rasco is going to pull those for us, and I will do that every 3. And then starting next week, well, starting 2 weeks from tonight, we will get back to normal episodes of Geeks Not Nerds Live, where we'll do a whole topic for you in an hour, including rants. And Eric can't wait for rants. More than Eric. And we next week, just quick plug, we're going to be doing the Luke Cage spoiler cast. Look forward to that. Let's go ahead and jump right into it, gentlemen. And thanks a lot for being here, and thanks for watching this after the fact. If you are watching this after the fact, also everybody, please bear with me. My voice is not great. It's starting to come back a little bit. It was really awful a couple days ago, but it's not going to sound awesome. So
if at any point in the video I dash away, it's probably because I've had a runny nose the past 2 days. I'd rather not have me blowing my nose be immortalized on video.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of getting over sickness and stuff in my house, but don't worry, especially because it's the internet. And get started. J-Man asks this question: what are some of your favorite animated films that aren't superhero or comic book related? Start with Eric. Eric, animated movies you like that don't have anything to do with superheroes and comics.
I would say, off the top of my head, my favorite Disney movie is The Great Mouse Detective.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like Sherlock Holmes. I think that's a really fun film. I love the villain in that movie. I think Ratigan's should be remembered more as a Disney villain.
You and my wife both. She likes that movie.
And I'd also throw in there's an anime movie called Summer Wars, which is a film where everyone on the internet has avatars like we do in science fiction, and they can fight, and there's like a super virus that attacks the internet. And there's also this story about this really large family like out in, and it's really good. So I would say that as well.
Rasco, do you have favorite animated films that aren't about superheroes and comics?
Here's a random pick. The movie Quest for Camelot. I don't know why I'm selecting that, but I've seen that numerous times, and I enjoyed that. And then I'll also say the animated Hercules movie I really like.
That's a Superman movie. That's the 3rd best Superman movie. Also, because it's almost Halloween, I'll throw in Paranorman, which is a movie that kind of went under the radar that I think is a really good kids film and Halloween film.
As far as 2D animation things go, because it's hard not to immediately go to Pixar stuff. With Disney, it's always been kind of a toss-up for me between Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast. I like both of those a lot. See, I'm sitting here. I'm still in superhero mode right now. I've been working on Rewind and stuff. That I'm trying to think of other things besides, like I said. I mean, I guess we.
Fritz the Cat. His favorite film.
No,
is Fritz the Cat.
Not so much. You know what? I've been kind of out of the animated kind of.
There's never been a better opportunity to talk about how much you love Cars.
I do like Cars a lot, but that's not like even my favorite Pixar movie. I like Monsters Inc. and Monsters University kind of together.
Oh, I loved University.
And I really like Up. I like the movie a lot. How much I love the Lego Movie.
Oh, and The Bug's Life. That's my favorite Pixar movie.
Oh, Bug's Life.
I know. Which stand.
I like the Seven Samurai.
Jake Zipper, how do you feel about Young Justice, especially season 2? And do you want to see talk about this? Somebody else asked that. We talked about it last time. I know Eric likes that a lot. And there's been talk about a 3rd season, but it seems like at this point it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah. Wishful thinking. Where they're just like, maybe if you all watch it enough on Netflix, Netflix will commission a 3rd season. It doesn't think there was ever like a concrete thing where like Netflix reached out and said like, hey, we might do a 3rd season. But I would love that. I mean, as long as they didn't do what they did with season 2 again.
Everybody give me just a second. I want to make sure that I'm in the right spot on our list here. Because I'm seeing some duplicate questions, and I want to make sure that we have it, that it's not actually just questions we've answered already. I've got one from Andrew Follett that says, do you think of the DC EU movies is causing superhero fatigue? I want to say we answered that last time.
We answered the question like it.
Yeah, I think we answered like exactly that question. Race casting question, we answered that. Let me check something real quick.
What year?
Because this is still sitting at top comments instead of newest comments, which is why I hate YouTube a lot. So everybody just bear with me for a second. Rasko, go ahead and give us a live question, please, sir.
We may have jumped ahead on questions.
We probably did, yeah.
This one is from Connor Casey. Should a comic book event be judged only by the main series, or should tie-ins be included?
Oh, that's a good question.
Either you guys go ahead. I'm still looking for my spot here.
I think the main series be judged by the main series. I think it should be a cohesive whole that you can read on its own. Circumstances like, say, Flashpoint, where I don't think Flashpoint is very good, but there's a lot of really fun miniseries, or tie-in miniseries that I think are really good. But I think I would call Flashpoint a successful event, but the main book wasn't good. But if we're talking about, I don't know, that's hard to break up. Because I don't think Civil War was a good event, but when we read the book, most of the stuff in Civil War is in the
yeah.
I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think that's what I've discovered as I'm talking. Case by case.
And I agree with that non-answer.
What was the question again?
It was
should events be judged only on the individual mini, or by also?
Oh, okay. I thought maybe that's what it was, but I was looking at these, and then you were talking. I was like, I figured I could completely glean it from what you were saying. And I was like, I don't know if I don't want to BS this. I want to make sure I know what the actual question is. Case by case, right? I think you were talking about Flashpoint, so I'll go there for a second. I think Flashpoint is a thing that you could easily read as not intending to be read only on its own. So the with that do such a good job of fleshing out everything that's in that miniseries that it doesn't read great by itself. It feels like you're missing a lot of stuff and like it's kind of brushstrokes. But if you read everything together, the brushstrokes kind of work okay. It's not, like you said, it's not a perfect story by any stretch of the imagination. It's got issues. But I think it's I can't remember how many issues Flashpoint is. Is it just 5? 5 or 6? 5. But anyway, but there are so I think it just depends on the thing. I wish we would make it a little clearer when events happen, whether or not you really need the tie-ins or which ones
and we have to
you have
stop
to have.
Saying you don't have to read any of the tie-ins when you do.
Yeah,
we say that every event.
We say it every
you don't
time.
have to read any of the tie-ins.
And often you kind of sort of do, and especially you again mentioned Civil War. That's the thing where somewhere else, and also contradictory according to you, because I never read any of that stuff. But then for itself, it was totally pointless to even look at the tie-ins. Civil War 2 is interesting because a lot of the extra in that's tying into it is in other books and not so much in tie. Like there's not as many straight up tie-ins. There's a few.
It's just kind of a banner across already running series.
And we always do some of that, but they're doing more of it with this than I think
I think the first Civil War was like that too.
And then, Convergence was interesting because that was a thing where there were tie-ins and they were completely unnecessary, but some of them were kind of fun and way, way better than that actual miniseries. I wish they were longer than 2 issues. But so you missed nothing and it was awful. Okay, anyway, so I think it's a case-by-case kind of thing. But my big thing is they need to make that clearer. Magpie wants to know which superhero movie gets too much hate and doesn't deserve it. In your opinion, you guys, what superhero movie gets the most hate that doesn't deserve it? Eric and I keep talking about Amazing Spider-Man 2. That's still my answer. I simply don't understand it. With respect to everybody's opinion, and I don't mean to be a broken record, but I can't think of a better example right now. That's go ahead.
I'm sorry. The Ang Lee.
No, you're
Hulk
fine.
movie. I think the Ang Lee Hulk movie just gets destroyed by people, and like it's one of those movies where like, if you ever see it brought up in a YouTube video, they'll almost always then make a joke about how either no one cares about it or it was so bad or like no one remembers it. And I guess that movie just stuck with me in a different way that it did no one else. And I think if you made that movie now and you got rid of the weird comic booky editing of it and you fixed the ending a little bit, that movie would not be remembered as the joke that it's remembered as.
I completely agree with you, Rasco, but you are definitely not alone on that. That movie left an impression on me as well. That was, when I wrote the rewind on it, I was surprised by just how much meat I found in it, especially in dealing with mental illness. And I think there's a really interesting... I mean, that's a really interesting theme that's woven through it, and it's a really depressing movie. I think in a really good way, but that third act is nonsense.
I've always seen that film as a really interesting failure, and it's so close to being a genuinely like brilliant film, and it just misses the mark. And I think most people aren't interested in looking at interesting failure; they just write it off. The Fantastic Four films, I think they're harmless.
Yeah.
I think that the Fantastic Four films are maybe some of the better ones to show to kids. Like, there's nothing...
It's a really good point, yeah.
And I think those films really get on the... I feel like they're harmless. They're not awful.
Yeah, I mean, they steer into insulting your territory, but they're not offensive. Okay, there's some Sue Storm stuff in those that I find somewhat offensive, but not in like a, not in like a Catwoman kind of way or a My Super Ex-Girlfriend kind of way. Yeah, so there's some answers. Tanner P, since Hugh Jackman is retiring from the role of Wolverine after the third Wolverine film next year, should Fox make a deal with Marvel to reboot the X-Men into the MCU like Spider-Man with Sony? If they did, how would they handle Deadpool since he's doing the current X-Verse? And would he convert to the MCU as he is right now and just reference that through his fourth wall breaking? I don't think that needs to happen. It's also not a thing that's gonna happen. Just because he's leaving, like when you say, like, should it happen? I guess like just kind of a wishful thinking thing, right? Because like Deadpool did so well, it's not like, oh no, we don't have Jackman.
Fox will keep making X-Men movies with Deadpool license if it comes to that.
I'm gonna go this far, and I might change my tune on this a little bit after we see Logan and see just how much it is or is not ignoring continuity things, Eric. But we just did a video on Logan, and to quote Eric, Fox does not care when it comes to continuity. So they could very easily just recast Wolverine, have him show up in like one of the X-Men movies 2 or 3 from now, and act like we've never had him before except for that Weapon X thing, and like make him scrappy, make him look totally different. There's no reason that they couldn't do that because they retcon inside, their continuity all the time like that. So yeah, I don't think they're hurting, especially because it
works so well on their own. They are a universe.
Yeah, like if you could convince me that they needed to, for some reason, go back to Marvel to go to the MCU, this would not be the catalyst that would make me think that was necessary, especially if we get to keep McAvoy. But I don't think I would want that anyway.
No, it'd be really weird if all of a sudden we had mutants.
Yeah.
What?
I agree.
and I've always said this, they've always kind of treated them like it's its own anyway. More recently we've been crossing them more in and stuff and dealing with superheroes having to deal with mutants that never had to before. But by and large, historically, they had a hard time integrating those two things.
Our role in Civil War is, we're not going to deal with that.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Rasco, did you have anything else to add?
Oh, I just pretty much agree with everything you guys said. So.
That's why you're part of the 7.
221 Baker, 221. Do you think bookended name? Well done. Do you think War should have started the death of Captain America story and set up Bucky becoming the new Cap, or is the actual ending good as is? I think the ending is fine.
Yeah, I mean that's all dependent on the stories that they want to tell. If they wanted to tell, if we get to whatever shows up, I think maybe they should have, but they are showing no indication of doing that. It's all about the stories they're going to...
Well, hasn't there been a lot of talk that he's going to not be Captain America after this for at least some duration?
I don't know.
I feel like I read that somewhere.
All of the Marvel actors seem to be back and forth. Like, there seems to be a period where they're like, I don't know, I'm getting kind of old. I don't know if I want to keep doing this.
No, not that. Just story-wise. Just like I feel like it was leaked that where he goes after that is, I'm not worthy of being Captain America anymore because of what happened at the end of Civil War, and so he gives up the mantle.
I thought that was speculated. I didn't think it was leaked.
I think that there was a tweet saying that Steve Rogers wasn't going to continue with the mantle of Captain America from someone working on Infinity War. So I think that is confirmed, but I don't think that they've said specifically if he's Nomad or anything like that.
Well, and that's pretty consistent with the comics. Before he died, he's quit being Captain America a number of times and taken up other identities.
And that could end up not being true, but it would not surprise me at all if that were the case. If you wanted to take Bucky out of stasis much faster and make him Captain America right now, you could, even without killing off Steve Rogers, but that certainly doesn't feel like what they set up. It certainly feels like he'll be on ice for at least a little while, don't you think? I mean, we wouldn't want to wait until what's his name? Sebastian Stan, yeah. We don't want to wait too long because obviously that guy's not supposed to age, or at least at much of a rate, right? So
I'd imagine we don't see him again until Phase 3.
Yeah,
I don't think he'll show up in the Infinity films.
No, I don't think so either. But yeah, I guess we'll see. I'm really predicting Falcon Cap pretty fast. I think Falcon Cap happens in Infinity War.
Unless he's big in if Bucky gets released in Black Panther and plays into that film, maybe.
I'll be real surprised if they do that.
I would too, but they put him in Wakanda.
Right. But they could. That just feels like you're putting him on ice so you can, first of all, okay. What I was going to say is you're putting him on ice so that you can kind of get bazillions of characters out for a while. But also, ending is as sad for him. He's such a character. If we bring him back right away, when you go back and watch these in sequence, it's going to deflate that a little bit.
I agree.
Rasco, can we question, please?
Yes, this is from J-Man. What are your thoughts about Tim Miller, director of Deadpool, leaving Deadpool 2?
If it would come up tonight. I think that whole thing is fascinating. Have you read about this, Eric?
I haven't heard about this at all. This is new to me.
Yeah, this happened today or yesterday.
I've been at work all day.
Miller left, and I don't remember the name of the actor. I would have to look it up. But allegedly he left over differences with Ryan Reynolds over who should play Cable. And there's a particular character that Reynolds is insisting upon, and I looked at the picture, and it wasn't an actor I knew, but I was like, but okay. And Miller apparently can't see it either, and he left. And they say it was amiable. We always say that. And he's just done. My immediate reaction to that is I like that movie. I think he did a really good job, especially as a first-time director. He was just not even a regular producer, some sort of producer. And but so like, you know, I can see why people might be a little bit alarmed by it, but at the same time, I think it's not likely to affect the tone or the direction of that, you know, too horribly much. It's even involved in plotting that film. But anyway, Rasco, you got anything to add?
I mean, you don't ever want somebody who doesn't want to be working on the project because of creative decisions that they disagree with. Like, you wouldn't want him on there
Good point.
if he doesn't want to do it. So, I mean,
Especially
I'm glad
with an
that he
actor,
left.
He didn't want an actor.
Yeah, because who knows why he didn't, like, he might have just thought he wasn't right for the role, or it might be somebody he doesn't like. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, and like if you're leaving for, and I mean, this comes across as a creative disagreement because I mean, it's a movie that we kind of, it's a movie that, okay, so it's a sequel to a movie that was really financially successful. So maybe there's more studio pressure, but at the same time, Fox kind of backing off that project is kind of what paid off for Deadpool. So you can, I don't know, it's really difficult.
I doubt very seriously if it has anything to do with the studio. Fox would be insane if they weren't completely hands off on that project. But because it did so well, that doesn't influence the people involved and make them and change their attitude a little bit about the way they make the sequel. And that's the thing that is kind of more interesting and more the thing that could potentially rock the boat and make it not as good of a movie. It's like anytime somebody suddenly gets successful, it has the potential to massively change the work and the way they do it.
So I just pulled it up, and it's actually backwards. It is the director wanted this actor, and Ryan Reynolds said no.
Oh, that's not what I read. Weird.
That's what I just read. I know this actor. Cable, but I know him.
Okay, weird. I must have looked at it wrong.
Kyle Chandler. He was in. He's in Wolf of Wall Street. He's the investigator.
I'm glad you looked that up. Then
I'll be right back.
Okay.
I know that guy.
Okay, J-Man, thanks for that question. Let's go ahead and move on, and we'll Rasco and I will tackle one for a second while we're waiting for Eric. Ultron 32. Who are some characters you'd like to be represented more in toys, collectibles, etc.? And what would you like to be made of them? Legos, pops, statues, etc. My go-to answer to this right now, and again, I don't mean to be a broken record, but I just miss having X-Men stuff. We never get any X-Men stuff anymore because of the Fox Marvel rivalry. And as far as what, everything.
What was the question?
There's not enough X-Men stuff anymore. Characters do you think should be represented more in toys and collectibles?
Multiple Man.
Martian Manhunter.
They should have a line of Multiple Man toys where like each one is just slightly different in like they all look exactly the same in the face, but one of them has like a cut on his cheek, and another one has like a slight rip in his shirt, and another one's just wearing a different T-shirt than all the other ones because he wants to be different.
If someone made a Multiple Man figure where it has an alternate head, where he has the scar and a beard, I would buy that. That's my favorite Multiple Man.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm really hoping for more Tick stuff with this new Tick show, obviously. I mean, that's bittersweet for me because I'm so close to a complete collection right now. And so then when they make more stuff, I have to buy more stuff. But that's another big thing for me is I want more Tick stuff.
And I would say there's not enough Hellboy stuff. I feel like he should be more merchandised more than he is.
Rasco, can you think of more stuff that should be merchandised that's not merchandised? Real often?
Oh God!
He had his time, Eric. He had his chance.
Oh no.
No, I'm talking about Spawn, not you.
I honestly don't know. I'll just stick with Martian Manhunter. He's cool. Just throwing that out there.
I'm hoping we get a line of Supergirl toys and a Martian Manhunter for that because we're getting it for all the other CW shows, and now that Supergirl's on the CW, I could see them potentially doing that, even though it's in a different universe, and not just the pops. Like I want actual 6-inch Supergirl toys because they actually have costumes. They're really cool. I don't love the Superman costume, and I wish that it and the Supergirl costume matched each other a little more. But
what about Joker and Harley? You know, they were just in a movie. Maybe they should be everywhere.
Yeah, it's weird that like nobody ever cosplayed characters.
I feel like
they're not
used
used to sell anything.
They should just be everywhere, and they're nowhere.
Yeah, and you think that when people, you know, Joker, like laugh or something, that they would try to be Mark Hamill every time, but it's never Mark Hamill. It's always just the other one. Barry Allen, hey guys. Could go into any movie or TV universe and ask a character a question, what would it be and who would it be?
I'll have to noodle that.
Oh boy, it's time for the noodling. We need noodling music here on Geeks Not Nerds Live. And nobody do the Jeopardy theme roll. And I'll just punch you.
I would go to the BVS universe and I would ask Lex Luthor why.
You don't want to have to sit down and listen to him explain it again. That's the thing, is he's already explained it to you and you still don't understand.
That's true.
I thought you said BBS and I was like, I don't know what that is.
Revolution.
Sevolution. This is a topic we did. I think this exact topic, like first year GNN, characters you would sit down and have a conversation with. See if I can good one.
The Architect. Oh boy, do I have questions for the Architect.
From the Matrix?
Yeah.
That's pretty great. Wow, why am I blanking on this?
And Terrence Mann.
Terrence Mann. Well, you can just read the Boat Rocker.
The fictional universe and just read the Boat Rocker.
Rasco, do you have one while I'm noodling?
I would like to have a conversation with the Dark Knight Joker after Batman stopped his plan to blow up the boats, and just to see like how he was reacting to his plan failing, but then the stuff that he wanted to have happen with Harvey succeeding. I just want to like talk to him about how he feels.
That's where he was during Rises. Rasco was talking to him.
Yeah.
Okay. My answer is the Borg Queen. Because I want to know, A, if she's always the same person or if there's like multiple queens. Like there's another actress that plays the Borg Queen, but I don't know for sure if it's always the same one. But more important, I want to know like what the genesis of the Borg was in the first place, and she'd be the person to ask. And you know, if she was just like the head and then she assimilated people, or if she came later. Let's do one more and then we'll get an audience question. Michael Adam, what superhero do you feel is the best role model for children? Okay, nobody say anything. Luke Cage!
Luke Cage is the best role model for children.
I wish Luke Cage, in a way, and I'll say this again on the spoiler cast, in a way, I wish Luke Cage was a show children could watch. I don't really mean that. I don't really mean that, oh, I wish it wasn't as violent, wasn't about the same things. That's not what I mean. Luke Cage, best version of Superman we've had since Captain America on screen. He's just a wonderful role model. Watch that guy do the what would Luke Cage do thing, and almost instantly be a better person. He's not just likable. He's so principled. But I don't want to go any farther into that because we're going to talk about it on Sunday. Rasco, superhero role model for children.
I really like, specifically because of how he was used in Winter Soldier, I think Falcon is a really cool like role model for kids, because I like the idea of like a guy who lives in a world where he's always known Captain America as being like this role model, and then when he's needed, like when he's called upon, like he steps up to help Captain America. And I just think that's really cool about Falcon. So I'm going to say Falcon.
And I guess the way we're sort of answering this is like, who's the best one right now? Of all time, it's in my mind undoubtedly Superman, depending on the version. Do you want to go for another answer, or are we just going to stick with Luke Cage?
I mean, that's kind of my answer too. Squad, like relationship culture.
It would catch on. It'd be better for everybody.
I don't know. I'm going right now. I don't know. Other than Luke Cage.
Rocket Raccoon. Let's move on. Austin.
Sure, right?
Austin Hart, with the incestuous creative process of the big two in comics through the years, there are a lot of created to capitalize on the success of the other's ideas. Let's say you're DC or Marvel. What character would you be most jealous of from the other? In other words, what character has DC or Marvel done that the other couldn't come close to replicating the success of? And then we'll do and I meant to do that.
Multiple Man.
Would you stop that?
I love Multiple Man.
Wow, that is a great question, and would possibly require some driving around and thinking.
Well, it's Superman, right? Like they want Superman and Batman.
That's a good point. And make characters and he's saying that they kind of create sort of analogs. But yeah, the character you'd most be jealous of. Well, if you're Marvel, the character you're most jealous of, and because the closest thing you have as far as popularity of a singular character that makes the kind of money that character makes is Spider-Man. But I don't think Spider-Man comes close to Batman. I don't think. I could be wrong about that. It's hard to know. I mean, that's a tough thing to gauge. You know, like I don't know if anybody's able to actually count up all of the dollars for everything that's merchandised and every film that comes out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, to figure out which of those characters has over the years made the most money. But if Batman's got 25 years on him and had a TV show that was the most merchandised thing of all time, so he probably still has it, up on. As far as going the other way, who would DC be most jealous of at Marvel?
Well, would it be the same thing? DC doesn't have a Spider-Man.
But do they need one? I mean, when they have Batman and Superman, they have these two, relative juggernauts.
I feel like they want him though, right? Like, isn't he the model that we keep? Like, we redo Superman as Spider-Man. We redo the Flash as Spider-Man.
But I don't think that's because they wish they had him. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's just reinventing their characters to match, which might be the same thing, honestly. I could see saying X-Men.
Sure.
Yeah.
Especially in the 90s.
They don't have, they don't have anything really like that as far as teams go. And they've never had a team as successful as X-Men.
They don't have a Galactus.
Yeah, they've got the Justice League, but they're banking on the singular characters that are already, like, I think the answer on the other side is not jealous of any particular character at Marvel. They're jealous of that universe and what it's about. They don't have that. And they have tried to recreate that a lot. I feel like I keep talking over you, pal.
Sorry.
Rask, are you there?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think your audio cut out for a second for me. I don't know if there's I think that you can look right now in the movies, and I think with certain characters, they want to accomplish certain things that Marvel may be succeeding with. If we're just, only if you're talking about the movies right now, because outside of the movies, there's a lot of stuff going on, but within the movies, I think DC really wishes that they could get their Superman to the public to feel the same way about their Superman that we do about Marvel's Captain America. I think that they want people to be interested in Superman the same way that they've come to be really interested in Captain America. So I think there's within the movie universe, there's really obvious ones, but outside of
right now they clearly want Guardians.
Yeah, that's a good point. As far as Superman goes, the irony there is that I think it would be hard to argue that they looked at Superman when they put together their Captain, they put that together, and that all DC has to do to compete is make Superman. It's all I got. It's all I got to do. The TV people at Supergirl know how to do it.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there. Okay, let's go ahead and get a live question, shall we, Rasco?
Okay, this is from Masked Sci-Fi Fan. How do you guys feel about Donald Glover being cast to play young Lando?
We were talking about this the other day, Eric. Do you have a real concrete opinion on that?
Yeah, I love Donald Glover. I think I love him in Community. I don't see Donald Glover as smooth. He's a real awkward, geeky kind of person. Even in a comedy, that's kind of who he is. I don't see him as smooth, but he's an actor. Maybe he can pull it off. I don't know, and I see him as a comedian first. So I'm not against it. I'm interested to see how it goes.
I really like the pick, and I think that it's interesting that he's not smooth, because that's the same thing that I thought of. And if it's not like a cutesy thing, like, oh, Lando's this way in episode 5, so he'll be completely the opposite in the movie and it'll be a joke. If it's that, I don't like that pick. But if it is like we want him to be different than he was when you met him, because we want him to grow into that character, then I'm okay with it. But I think overall, I think it's a pretty good pick.
Yeah, I mean, I never like it when you do the ironically, look, this person is entirely different from who they are in the future. People don't tend, unless there's, something really traumatic or profound that makes you go in an entirely different direction personality-wise. But he could be really, young and wet behind the ears. And maybe I imagine a character that, playing it for comedy. I could see playing it like he's trying to be the guy he is when he's older. He's not there yet. He's not suave, but he pretends like he is, and he makes a fool out of himself and stuff. I could see that.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion about the pick, really. I don't know well enough to comment. Okay, Goofstar123, this is not a thing that anybody's going to have an opinion on, but here's the question. What is your opinion on the recent announcement that the Tower of Terror in Disneyland will be replaced by a Guardians of the Galaxy ride, wherein the riders follow the Guardians' escape from the collector's collection? Especially curious about Cap and Lo's thoughts. Unfortunately, she's not here tonight, having just been to the parks a few weeks ago. Yeah, I heard about that. Lo was telling me about it. I thought that was a weird kind of counterintuitive pick. It's one of those things where I don't mean to be a total purist about stuff, and I've only been to this time, but I don't want stuff to ever change too much or change forever with the really classic rides. So the Tower of Terror should at some point come back and be what it was before. I think it's okay to redress it for a while. But you wouldn't want it to just be, okay, now that we've done that, we have to keep changing it to some other thing that's always about some popular property right now.
One would have an opinion on this and live next to Disney World for...
Oh, I just didn't know if you'd care.
Well,
That's a Disney World, but this is land, and I just didn't know if you'd care.
We're dressing at World, but I mean, I don't have an opinion.
I don't know if they are, but go ahead.
They can't, because of the way the way the contracts work with Universal. They can't actually put Marvel things at World.
Oh, okay.
It's like a mileage thing, within the vicinity of Universal.
Yeah, that's right. About that.
Terror. You think of the Tower of Terror as a classic thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. It's already a pop culture thing.
Well, sure, but then it should go back to that at some point.
Yeah. I don't know.
And the Twilight Zone is classic, and
they things.
Yeah, no, I know they do. I was weird about it with Space Mountain, but I didn't actually get to see that. So
yeah,
Star Wars thing now. It's Star Wars thing now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, it's Hyperspace Mountain. Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Living next to Disney World, and Universal, I see this happen a lot, and it's always a bummer. I watched the Back to the Future ride get turned to the Simpsons ride.
Yeah, and I always wanted to go to that. Was sad I didn't get to go.
It's on the DVD. The whole ride.
Cool.
I mean, you don't get to move like this, but
well, and most of those rides now you can look at online. With first-person POV cameras.
With the DVD of Back to the Future, they have all the pre-footage and stuff too. It's not just the ride footage. But yeah, so this is something I've gotten used to. I used to live next to a theme park. I used to live next to all the theme parks. It doesn't hit me in any kind of way because I'm all the time.
Kando Tor would have been better off starting the DCEU, back to another one of these questions, with B and C list characters a la Iron Man and Hulk. How would you guys build verse starting without the Trinity? I don't know. It's hard to say retroactively, I think if you made a really good movie and people were talking about it, it would have been risky and it might have been the right risk to take. But just making a less counterintuitive Superman movie, never mind how you feel about Man of Steel and the ending of it, and whether you think it's a really cynical movie or whatever, would have been the way to start that world. I always like that they wanted to start with Superman because that's the first superhero. It should start there. I mean, it didn't have to, but I liked that they started there.
Well, I percent for being C-list characters if they wanted that tone. If they wanted a darker tone, maybe it would have made sense to pick a darker character that lives in a darker world and then build out from there.
Yeah, but you would risk just making another Batman movie that's not Batman.
That's true.
Is the only problem with that. And yeah, you could have started with Batman, except you're immediately, and that would have been, I think, really the wrong kind of risk. I would have done that if I was them.
But no, I can't see any way DC builds from not the Trinity.
No, I have a tough time with that too.
And Marvel didn't choose. Marvel didn't choose to do this.
Yeah.
If the rights to Spider-Man, the X-Men, they would have started
there. Yeah.
But the other thing is, the rest of the characters that they're using, like Captain America is kind of icon. Iron Man is at least well known enough that he's part of like a Seinfeld bit. Like they were kind of safe.
It's not like they're known.
Yeah.
Hulk, especially. He had a TV show.
Yeah.
He had a popular 6-season TV show or however long.
You wouldn't launch Marvel with Guardians, Doctor Strange, just like you wouldn't launch DC with like Ragman and the Question.
Yeah, when you say B and C-list characters, I don't think B or C. I could have seen starting with The Flash.
Yeah, no, that
I could have seen
Green Lantern. If that was better.
I think.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Rasco.
If you weren't, because I was focusing on the part about the question was like, if you couldn't do the Trinity, I think eventually you would need the Trinity, but I think you could hold off them and do like a Flash movie first, and you could set up Flash and then like a few little things in the DC universe that could be connective tissue. You could set up like Star Labs and stuff like that, and just have like a few more things, and you've kind of. Flash has kind of like a middle of the road tone where you don't have to commit too much one way, and so you can kind of see how people feel from that point on if you're going to go the really reactionary route that they've gone so far. So I think you could do Flash first for DC movie, and that's a fresh enough character that people would care about, I think, if you gave them a reason to.
And they did try to do this with Green Lantern. They tried to start a universe that didn't lead with Superman, Batman, or Wonder Woman.
Which would have been a fine choice had it been a better film.
Yeah.
I also think a risk I might have tried, it's risky and it's not risky. It's not risky in the sense that if your movies aren't doing well, you have a much easier back door. Like while you're going through the haunted house, there's exit signs everywhere. Done is made some of those popular characters have never gotten movies, Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, do another Green Lantern before you ever get to Batman and Superman, and make them all. Then this would be the big thing that would set you apart from Marvel. I can't believe I've never said this, because of the way the comics have always kind of felt, where Marvel again built as a universe in the first place. What if you had no connective tissue at all? What if you made all those feel like disparate movies that were all their own separate universes, and then you made a Justice League movie and you roped them all together and you made it work? I think that might have been actually really smart, where maybe people didn't even know if it was a shared universe, and then all of a sudden you put them all together. That's a big deal. That's potentially a bigger deal than even Avengers would be, and maybe you introduce a Justice League movie. And that one's neither here nor there, but just like to separate it apart from Marvel and to pay tribute to the way it all started in the first place, right? That so many of these characters were their own thing before they were put together. And you do those really good separate movies that could easily be their own films or their own worlds. And then if it doesn't work, you're out nothing. You just start over.
I think there's a really strong case to be made that they should have started with Wonder Woman.
Yeah, sure.
She's the character that, kind of up there with Batman and Superman. She's never gotten a movie, and we have been trying to give her a movie show for the past 2-3 decades.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would have made a lot of sense to start with her, and people wanted it.
Absolutely, yeah.
That would have been cool.
One more live question, and then I think we've got time for one more round.
Okay, this is from
Wow,
Lydia
It
Sobreros.
did, didn't it?
If
Why,
you could
Lydia?
recast anyone in the MCU, which character would you recast?
So is this like there's a character we don't like that needs to be
Or an
recast?
actor.
Like an actor where it's like that's the weak link? Because the problem is anybody right off though.
I would replace Scarlett Johansson with Charlize Theron because I think Charlize Theron's a better actress.
Interesting. Okay.
But other than that, I don't know if there's anybody that I think is a real weak pick. I don't think Scarlett Johansson's a weak pick. I just think Charlize Theron's a better actress.
After Winter Soldier, I can't see anybody else in the role. I would recast Thanos as an actual actor.
He is an actual actor.
It is not a CG character.
I would recast Rocket Raccoon as an actual actor.
I would hire it. You know, honestly, iTunes are not getting enough representation in Hollywood.
Agree.
And yeah, this honestly, guys. Rasco?
Oh, I'm trying to, because see, I think yesterday I had randomly something came to my mind about who a really good Winter Soldier would have been, but I've completely forgot who I was gonna say. Oh my god.
I might recast Gamora, but I don't know who I'd recast.
Oh,
her as.
you know what? That's my answer too, probably. Except that's not even fair because I don't usually like Zoe Saldana, and I thought she was fine.
Yeah, but I would get someone who's good.
No, I don't think she's.
I'd recast Wasp as Mary Elizabeth Winstead. That's my pick.
Wow. Good job, you guys. Okay, moving right along.
I'd recast everyone as Paul Rudd.
Rutherverse. Whatever. Thanks for that question. Jacob Carlson. Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
What is a fitting death for Bruce Wayne / Batman? Outside of story exists like Batman R.I.P., how would you go about tackling the death of Batman? Death of Batman.
Well, he goes to a movie and he goes out the back way and then gets shot by a mugger.
Yeah. It's like poetry. It rhymes. Sorry. Go ahead.
This is gonna sound horrible, but I've always thought about like if Batman fighting crime somehow got like a disease, like if he got like HIV from like I don't know, from blood that he came into contact to and died that way. I'd like that'd be horrible, but I've always thought about
Batman
that.
cancer.
You want Batman to have cancer?
Let's you bench press your way out of that, Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I think Bruce Wayne putting on the suit one more time as an old man, just fighting dudes in the street. You know, we're like he's faces mortality eventually, but he still refuses to quit doing it. That's probably how I would go.
He died at the end.
Yeah, or like if he died in Batman Beyond. Like where like I always thought an alternate decent way to start Batman Beyond, if it wasn't a cartoon show for kids, but it wouldn't do this, would be he dies as Batman, but he finds his Batcave and they become Batman. And I'm sure some people would say, just in a fight with the Joker, but then of course the problem with that is Joker. But
well, they both die.
Yeah, okay. So then it's like Superman Doomsday.
There's thousands of ways that you could I don't feel like
yeah.
Like, even thing that we say is
there's not a perfect way.
No, or a perfect way for any of us, I don't think.
Joaquin Mogren. Is Jesus Christ a compelling protagonist?
In Last Temptation of Christ, he absolutely is.
He's Mary Sue.
Christ.
Jesus Christ is Mary Sue.
He's the male version, which is a thing. It's Gary Sue. I know. Somebody says that about it. Raz goes, there's a male version. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead, Aaron.
Last Temptation of Christ is at least in a as a character sense, is the best depiction of Jesus, because we kind of show how traumatic a lot of the stuff that's depicted with Jesus would be if he is in fact supposed to be a man.
Yeah.
The idea of a voice speaking to him, knowing since you're a child that you're going to have to go through all of the horrible things you're going to have to go through, and
doing all the right things anyway.
Yes.
I mean, he's Superman before
Yes.
Superman.
And I think
except worse, because he knows he's going to get crucified, and he's not bulletproof.
In that film, I think he absolutely is. I could point to 100 versions where he's just a cardboard cutout character.
Sure, but I guess looking at the New Testament just as a story, it was even as just a narrative, as a story, is he sympathetic there?
That's hard because it cuts around from different perspectives.
I would say, yeah, it kind of depends. I think he is. I mean, I think, it's but just with what you know, and it's not like it's a character you ever get in his head. But that's a great question. I love that question. Thank you for that.
I mean, no character that walks on water is relatable.
Chris S., if you could have your own 2 personal Mount Rushmores, one for comic book writers and one for artists, who would you pick and why? Oh boy, you're gonna make us pick 6?
Oh my god!
Or no, 8?
Well, it's writers and artists, so it's 4 and 4. That's not super hard.
4? It's not hard for you. I gotta pick 4 and 4.
I mean, it's 2 different kinds.
No, I know that, but you put me on the spot with the definitive, in my mind, 4 best writers and best artists on the spot.
Doing best, or are we doing important? Like, I wouldn't put Spain there for best.
No, but for important. Yeah, if it's for, well, in Mount Rushmore, I suppose it would probably be more for importance. Yeah.
Because that's a different thing.
Well, if it's so easy, why don't you start? Just roll them out. Let's go.
Well, I mean,
get it done. Get it done, son.
If it's important.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do it by importance. I mean,
okay,
I like that.
Okay,
sure.
If it's important, it's Stanley, Alan Moore, Frank Miller, and I don't know, Bendis? Or no, not Bendis.
Simonson, actually?
No.
Maybe Simonson goes on the other one.
Who's the guy who reinvents the entire DC universe in the 50s? He's the one that goes through and gives us Hal Jordan and Wally invents all of the characters.
I don't remember his name.
That guy is. If we're just going by importance, I would say those are the 4. That's not my best. But
okay. Who would you put on for artists? Obviously,
Jack Kirby.
Ditko and Kirby must both be there.
Ditko and Kirby. Neil Adams. And
Steranko?
Yeah, Steranko. Yeah, I'd throw Steranko on there.
Possibly Guy Thanos?
Maybe
Alex Starlin?
Maybe Alex Raymond.
Yeah.
Who is Flash Gordon.
But I could see Jim Starlin.
Or Alex Toth. Yeah.
That was fun.
I mean, if we're just going by importance, like that's not my personal. But if that's what the question is,
well, it does. You know what though? It does say Mount Rushmore.
Oh, okay.
It does say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then we just wasted time.
No, that's all right. That's all right. What would it be that way? No, this is fun. I just busting your chops, be like, this is easy.
It's not super hard.
It's harder.
By importance.
It's harder for me because I have to remember people's names.
I would go. Oh man, if it's just me personally, it's Frank Miller, Peter David, Matt Fraction, Dennis O'Neil.
Yeah,
that'd be my 4 writer. This I would go Mike Mignola, Frank Miller. Oh, I'm not an art guy.
So easy. Look at him go.
I'm trying to think of who I would want on my Mount Rushmore for art.
Look at him go.
And they're not people where like I just like them because of one thing. Like Steve Dillon, I love Steve Dillon. I love Steve Dillon for Preacher and Hellblazer. Like I don't know if he makes on my Mount Rushmore for 2 series. Mm-hmm. I had one. I had a good one.
I'm gonna thank everybody for continuing.
I don't know. You guys go while I think of my.
Rasco,
my last two
do you have one?
I'm just for writers. I'm gonna just go Brian Lee O'Malley 4 times, and then I don't know anything for artists.
Really?
I love Brian.
Who even is that?
That's Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim.
Oh,
I love Scott Pilgrim.
4 times?
he's not a big enough comic reader.
Yeah.
I would want to really noodle this. I think writer wise, Rucka would be there.
Rucka's a good pick.
Wade might be there. I don't care what this guy says.
I don't think he's a bad writer. He doesn't click. He doesn't click.
Jurgens because of 90s Superman stuff. And then probably Dennis O'Neil. But then I feel like I'm leaving off a couple people that I should have put there.
Yeah,
so that's
I just
hard.
realized
writers
I left
is
off
really
Morrison,
hard.
and
Yeah,
I feel like he should have done my writers.
yeah, you can't. You can't leave more than that.
Or Joe Casey.
Yeah.
I love Joe Casey's work too.
On the artist side, I'm gonna put Simonson there. I'm gonna put Kirby there.
Yeah, I'd throw Kirby on there too.
That's hard not to do. I'm gonna put Santa Luco for Ninja, like my favorite thing right now. And then and I know he's like new and current, but he draws like nobody else. And then
oh, you know what? I would put Brian Hitch on because
really
on artists solely for Ultimates 2.
Yeah,
Ultimates,
like Hitch.
Ultimates 2 is the pinnacle of his artwork.
Yeah.
And it's maybe my favorite comic book art. Like when I write things that are meant to be comic books, in my head I see them as I feel like that book is too important for him not to be there.
Let's go ahead and knock out a few more real quick rapid fire if we can, since we're at the end of the multi-topic. We've got about 5 or 10 minutes left on the clock, and instead of taking any more live questions, I want to just knock these out kind of lickety split if we can. So no more than 2 minutes for any of these. Bobby Singer, Cap, my girlfriend and I are cosplaying Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown together, and I'm super excited. Have you and your wife ever cosplayed together? That's a great question. Sarah, not like like characters that go together, really. My whole family and I are doing Batman stuff this year, so there's a little bit of that. But Sarah's just wearing like a cool Batman dress, but she's not like playing a character. So yeah, ultimately not really. When like we did things together for Spawn Year, but it wasn't really cosplaying so much. Madman, in the finale of Spawn Year, the family comfortably sits and watches the finale to Spawn Year, but they are in what they are watching. Would they eventually watch themselves? Because what they're watching is an intentional reproduction of what happened before. So they made it, and they made it based on something that that apparently happened, and then they watched themselves doing a thing that they had already done before. So they're not actually watching themselves watch themselves. Cap, here's my question. All caps. This is from Scott McCall. Think of the first episode of Telltale Batman, and what do you want to see from the game moving forward? Steve watched and played that for us on the channel. I have not played it yet. I am waiting until it's done. I do not want to play any of it until it's finished. So I got nothing. Have you played it yet, Rasco?
No, but I probably will wait till it's finished as well. Because I've played a lot of the Telltale games, but no, I haven't played it.
Oh, suddenly more questions about just us on the channel. Josh Turnbull, Cap, may you please explain the origin of Counting Crypto Freaks? I've always been curious about that, and during the commentary podcast you and Eric did on the pilot for Smallville, you said you're going to explain that, and then
I know we talked about that after.
You remember that? You remember that? So here's the origin of Counting Crypto Freaks. The origin of Counting Crypto. What happened was back before I started the channel, Noodle doing a series of Smallville reviews called Counting Crypto Freaks. The idea for Counting Crypto Freaks actually predates Rewind. And I was watching a lot of SF Debris and doing something sort of similar to that. And I ultimately didn't start it before Rewind because I was worried that it would look like I was ripping them off, and it would be the first thing I ever did on the internet, and nobody knew me, they wouldn't see me, and it wasn't the thing I was ripping them off. And I had sent SF Debris in a message to ask him if he would be okay with me doing something sort of in his format. It wouldn't have been a straight up rip off, but I wanted to ask him. I was a little paranoid about it, and I never got a response back from him. And so I just didn't do it. And then years later, or I guess a couple years later, I got a lot of Smallville requests, and I decided that it might be cool to go ahead and do and try it as a series, and that's how that happened. But in the interim, a few months before that, I actually recorded a kind of pilot episode for a different version of it that I never released anywhere. That would have been ongoing commentaries, still called Counting Crypto Freaks, where as I'm watching it without any preparation, I'm trying to count things, and it still would have been called Counting Crypto Freaks. I recorded one and I didn't care for it, and I never did it that way. So then Counting Crypto Freaks a few months later became what you see now on the channel. So anyway, that of Counting Crypto Freaks. Azim Abul Khalil, do you think Frank Miller's good storytelling? We did that one. I don't know how that happened, but we did that one. I also feel like maybe we answered this one too. I'm not sure. Did we answer this, Eric? Rohith Dar. Hope. Let's see. If you were magically an editor at DC and or Marvel, which writer and artist would you pair up to work with on a superhero team book? I feel like maybe we did that.
I don't think we did that.
Did we not do that?
I don't recall doing that.
Okay. All right. We'll do it again if we did do it, but I don't know that we did it. So who would you pair up together if you were the editor is the question.
It says on a team book? It's specifically a team book.
On a superhero / team book of your choice,
okay.
And why. Yeah,
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't put the slash in there. Giving us carte blanche to go anywhere with that. A superhero / team book. Yeah, that's a great question.
I have a real easy, quick answer. At Marvel, I would put Joe Casey and I can never remember Justin Nguyen.
Mm-hmm.
He did Heart of Hush.
Yeah.
I would put the two of them on Iron Man. They have worked together on Wildcats 3.0. Joe Casey loves Iron Man, and I think Dustin Nguyen has a great style that would reflect well in Iron Man. So I would do that there. I'll think about DC while you guys answer.
If Paul Dini would come back, and again, this is just based on something. I mean, I mentioned this guy earlier, but I really, really, really want to see Santaluco work on Batman, and I'd love to see him and Paul Dini together because I think those would be good sensibilities. Anybody else? Oh, a Marvel one.
Yeah, see, I didn't have a DC one right off.
It does say DC and or Marvel, so I don't have to have multiple answers.
I'd put Matt Fraction, Salvador LaRocca, the creative team of Invincible Iron Man, onto Green Lantern.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like what's the team I think's really good right now?
Or David Aja and Matt Fraction on anybody. They did Hawkeye.
I'm sure I would come up with more cool things, but let's go ahead and keep going.
Wait,
Harold,
this basketball.
I don't have a pick for team.
Harold, Zoom. There's always this roar from comic book fanboys about current iterations of Superman not wearing his red underwear. I don't recall the same outrage when Batman lost his outer underwear. Please discuss. Did we do this one?
No, but I mean, I've got an answer. I don't know if you got an answer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one is definitely worse than the other. Go ahead.
Versus Superman in this case
it just wasn't the best thing. I mean, I feel like we've had to talk about this so many times.
And that Batman works with the gray. With Superman, it's too much blue. Just aesthetically, he needs the underwear there to break up the color. He left without it in a way that Batman doesn't. That's my biggest issue with it. Well, and the tradition.
Yeah, the tradition is a bigger thing for me, but matter of contrast. Even when Batman's wearing blue, there's not as big of a contrast between gray and blue as there is between red and black, or between red and blue.
Yeah.
And so it's because he's got that big cape, and it's because he's got those boots. And of course, now we've kind of taken the red boots away from him. I don't like that either. It's just supposed to be this like bright, striking, inspiring thing. So he needs to be a splash of color. There's not enough color in the middle when you take that out. And I just don't think it looks silly, like, for Superman.
I agree.
It's kind of a perfect costume. It doesn't make sense to mess around with it too much. There are little tweaks here and there that you can make, I think, but that's one of the few costumes that I don't think there's any point trying to improve on. I think the red Spider-Man costume is that way. I think you can put him in different. I think you can put him in different suits. I think
yeah, I like the black
Superman suit. Yeah, and I also think you can put usually in other suits, but he's always got to go back to the first one. I think Spider-Man could have stayed in the black suit forever, and no one would have ever minded, or at least most people would never have minded. But anyway, that's the answer. Rasco?
I think that
weigh in on underwear.
You know, the thing is, when people take away Superman's underwear and they don't do the defined belt, that's the issue. Batman, they always leave the utility belt. So even if he doesn't have the underwear, you still get the utility belt. And Superman needs to, if he's not going to have underwear, you can't get rid of the underwear and the belt. He needs a really defined belt.
I think it still doesn't look right, even if you keep the belt there. But then, to your point, I don't know that I've ever seen that. I don't know what it looks like necessarily. I mean, in my head, I can imagine it.
Yeah, Man of Steel has a belt buckle, but no belt.
Yeah. And currently, he has no belt. And the Supergirl one, I think, also is the same way. Nobody ever puts a belt with it.
Belts.
Let's do one more. Mad Titan Productions. If you were forced at gunpoint to write a super serious sequel to a horrible movie, Eric would know it. What would you pick, and what would you do with it? That's great. Well, Eric does this pretty much twice a month right now. Rasco, you want to play what is the name of your show? Play the Let's Do It Again game real quick.
A super serious sequel to a terrible movie, or a
super serious sequel to a terrible movie.
That's not exactly what we do.
That's true. I forgot about the super serious part. Okay, well, this is fun. No, we'll all do this. Okay, so a super serious movie. I'm gonna have a hard time.
Fantastic Four 3. They all get cancer, and it's a really somber piece.
They're not even in it.
Their powers are slowly killing them. We find out that we're doing the ultimate version of Johnny Storm, where he's actually burning his body mass every time he uses his fire.
I would write a super serious sequel to Howard the Duck. I think that would be a real challenge. I think it could be done. I really do.
I'd write a super serious...
It would be so easy.
Oh,
yeah,
continue.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Continue.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Go right ahead.
Okay, I'd do a super serious sequel to Catwoman, and that would be ridiculous.
Serious sequel to PBS.
Oh, that's a good one. But
well, what would you do with it?
With Catwoman, I'd make it like I'd just take it in a hole even farther away from DC is what I'd do. Like we'd go off into like crazy like under like dark, gritty noir type like investigations with Catwoman, and like that's what it would be. Be awesome.
You know, an honest, like, not joking answer.
I'm not joking with Howard the Dog.
No, but all my answers have kind of been jokes.
I'll see what I'll do with it here in a second. Go ahead.
Sequel to Batman Robin.
Yeah.
That universe starts darker. I think you can go darker.
It'd be great to bookend it with it. It might make the whole thing work better. I don't want to say as a piece, but it might.
It's not a piece.
Not even remote. You rope it all together at the end. You're like,
pull it all together.
Oh, and it turned out that
together in the end.
Turned out that Two-Face had McGregor syndrome the whole time, and that's when he was just.
Had been spiking the water supply for months, and that's why everything was so bright and colorful in Batman and Robin.
Yeah, it didn't actually look like that. It was just from the perspective of everybody on drugs.
There are two streets, and they both have the imperial.
That's right.
The imperial.
where City Hall is right across the street from where Bruce's parents got gunned down.
Imperial something, I think. The Imperial Theater, I think.
No. It's the Monarch. The Monarch.
Yeah. You're the Monarch Theater.
Eric can only think of one butterfly at the moment. One sort of butterfly.
The butterfly.
I would set Howard the Duck sequel exclusively on Duck World, and I think it would be a really cool challenge to try to make a dark movie out of that material, where you still had like some of the duck puns and stuff like on signage and everything, but you made it like a gritty, like 1920s noirish thing, and so like there would be obviously humor to it, but everybody in it would be taking it really seriously, and it would be pushing PG-13. Like it'd be a thing that was not for kids at all. But then at that point, it would be really easy to say, well, it's not really a sequel at all. You just made another Howard the Duck thing.
Any Roland Emmerich movie, you just do the day after. Where like it's a really somber, like putting things back together piece.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. That's what Independence Day should have been. Like 20 years after the fact. We don't make a sequel set 20 years after the fact. We do one the next day, and then conveniently none of our characters are involved because they're too old. Those actors are too old to be in this movie.
Monster in Cloverfield 2.
Cloverfield's not a bad movie.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. I like it. It says really bad, horrible movie. I don't think that's a horrible movie.
Well,
we should do a commentary.
I'll give you that.
Anyway,
we'll both get motion sickness.
Rasco?
I was gonna say I like Cloverfield. I'm with Cap.
You know what? You're off the commentary. I'm gonna use Rasco.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, I love 10 Cloverfield.
I'll make you watch that.
No, I would like to see that. Everybody, thanks always for watching. We sure appreciate it. That's going to be the end for this year's multi-topic extravaganza. We will take some of these questions that we have not answered yet. We got through quite a few of them, and see if any of them would make for great discussion topics for an entire show. And we'll use some of those for cannon fodder for that. And we will ask you folks to help us out coming up with good topics down the line as we get back into the regular swing of things after next week's spoiler cast for Luke Cage, my new favorite role model for children. And I want to thank these guys so very much for being with me tonight, and we'll see you again next week. I am Captain Logan. This was Brown Coat Eric.
Well, that's all, folks.
And Jackson Rasco.
Peace out.
And I am Captain Logan saying good night. Good night.